Welcome back, everyone, to another Medvarsity Deep Dive. Today, we're going to get into some really cool stuff, cutting-edge radiotherapy techniques.
Yeah,
We're talking like precision, you know,
absolutely.
precision that would make a brain surgeon jealous. So before we get ahead of ourselves, though, yeah, not everyone is as familiar with this as we are.
Right.
So let's just define radiotherapy.
For sure.
So we're talking about using energy right to target and destroy cancer cells.
Right.
But what we're going to talk about today is how this is getting even better with this idea of adaptive radiotherapy.
Yeah, it's like having a treatment plan that can change in real time, adapting to changes within the body as the tumor shrinks or the patient's anatomy shifts.
Okay, so imagine you've got a treatment plan right, but as you're going along, the target starts moving. Without adaptation, you're essentially shooting in the dark.
Exactly.
But with adaptive radiotherapy, it's like the plan recalibrates itself to make sure you're always hitting the bullseye.
And that's really crucial because those changes can lead to inaccuracies in the initial plan, and that can cause us to miss tumor cells or affect healthy tissue when we don't want to.
Okay, so this is already blowing my mind, but there are multiple types of adaptive radiotherapy, aren't there? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so there are a couple of key types. So offline adaptation is like making periodic course corrections. So say we're checking in every so often and making adjustments based on new imaging scans.
So it's not real time,
Right.
but it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And then you have online or real-time adaptation, which is really like having a GPS for your radiotherapy. You're allowing continuous dynamic changes to the plan based on that real-time feedback.
Wow. Okay, now we're talking. So it's like those radiation beams are constantly adjusting to hit the target no matter how much it moves.
That's a great way to think about it.
That's wild. And, I remember reading something about this with head and neck cancer treatment,
Right.
specifically about how it protects the parotid glands,
Yeah.
the salivary glands near the ears.
Absolutely. So that's a perfect example of how we can minimize side effects using this type of radiotherapy. So in head and neck cancer, a lot of times the parotid glands are very, very close to where that tumor is. So as the tumor shrinks, those glands might actually shift position a little bit, and that can put them at risk of receiving radiation when we really don't want them to.
So if they did get hit with that radiation, they might experience something like dry mouth, which I imagine would have a huge impact on quality of life.
For sure. But these adaptive techniques allow us to sort of adjust those radiation beams and spare those glands and potentially prevent that side effect from happening.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've covered adaptive radiotherapy. Pretty mind-blowing, but there's another technique that sounds like it's straight out of Star Trek.
Okay.
Helical tomotherapy.
Helical tomotherapy.
What is going on with that?
So this is delivering radiation in a spiral pattern, and it uses both a CT scanner and a linear accelerator combined to deliver radiation in that really precise way.
Hold on. Spiral patterns.
Spiral pattern.
What does that even look like?
So imagine almost like a beam of radiation wrapping around the patient's body, like a ribbon spiraling around a maypole.
Okay.
And that allows for very precise control so we can shape that radiation dose to conform to the tumor shape and minimize the dose to the healthy tissue.
So it's like giving the radiation this 3D map of the tumor and saying, okay, go and take out the bad guys.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even cooler. It uses something called binary multi-leaf collimators, or MLCs.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that down for me because binary multi-leaf collimators sounds a little intimidating.
It does sound very intimidating, but it's actually a pretty simple concept. So think about it as tiny little metal fingers that can block the radiation beam or shape the radiation beam. So in traditional radiotherapy, those fingers move together like a sliding door. But in helical tomotherapy, each finger can actually move independently.
Oh, wow.
So they can open and close at any point during that spiral rotation.
It's like having thousands of tiny shutters all working together to shape the radiation.
That's a really great way to put it. So it gives us a lot of flexibility to spare that healthy tissue, even if it's right up next to the tumor.
Okay, my brain is officially overloaded.
Yeah.
We've got adaptive radiation adjusting on the fly. We've got helical tomotherapy shaping the beams like a sculptor. What else is there?
Well, how about delivering very high doses of radiation in just a few sessions? That's where stereotactic radiotherapy comes in.
Oh, wow. Hold on. So we're talking like a much shorter treatment time.
Yes.
But wouldn't that increase the risk of side effects?
So it's a very powerful technique, but it's not appropriate for all tumors. It's best used for smaller tumors that have really well-defined shapes and locations. And because we have such precise targeting, we can give higher doses in fewer sessions with less damage to that surrounding tissue.
So it's like a surgical strike with radiation. Get
Uh,
in, hit it hard, get out.
Exactly. And we have two main ways to deliver this type of therapy. One is with a gamma knife, and the other is with a cyber knife.
I've heard of a gamma knife, but cyber knife sounds like a sci-fi movie.
It does.
What's the difference?
So gamma knife uses a fixed frame that's attached to the patient's head to make sure that it's accurate, and it delivers radiation from multiple different cobalt sources.
Okay.
Cyber knife, on the other hand, is frameless, and it uses a robotic arm to deliver radiation from a linear accelerator.
So it's like comparing a stationary turret to a sniper rifle that can move wherever it needs to go.
Yeah.
Cyber knife sounds a lot more flexible.
And that flexibility is really key because CyberKnife can track tumor motion in real time. So if that tumor is in an area that moves when you breathe or with other bodily functions, it can really make sure that we're staying on target.
So it's like having a robotic surgeon that's constantly adjusting to hit that moving target.
Exactly. So it uses something called a 6D robotic couch, which means it can move in 6 different directions.
Wow.
And it combines real-time imaging with beam delivery from thousands of different angles.
So it's not just tracking the tumor, it's also adjusting the angle of the radiation to make sure it's hitting the tumor in the best possible way.
And to make it even more precise, CyberKnife takes that radiation beam and it divides it up into thousands of tiny little beamlets.
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 That sounds tiny.
They are incredibly small, but each one is carefully controlled and directed to a very precise point.
Okay.
So by combining all of those beamlets from all of those different angles, CyberKnife basically sculpts a very, very focused dose of radiation that conforms perfectly to that tumor shape.
So it's not just blasting the area with radiation, it's like it's concentrating all of that energy into one tiny point to minimize the damage to the surrounding tissue, but maximize the impact on the tumor.
Exactly.
This is amazing.
It is really cool technology.
Okay, I need a minute to process all of this. We've covered so much ground. Adaptive radiotherapy that changes on-the-fly helical tumor therapy, shaping the radiation beams like a sculptor and cyberknife with its robotic precision. It feels like radiotherapy is entering a whole new world.
It really is. And it's only going to get better and more advanced as time goes on.
So where do we go from here? What does this mean for the future of cancer treatment?
I think we're going to see even more targeted treatments, more personalized treatments, and with that, fewer side effects and better outcomes for our patients.
This is so fascinating. But I'm also curious, are there any risks or challenges that are associated with these cutting-edge technologies?
Of course. One of the biggest challenges is cost. These systems are expensive, and not every hospital or healthcare facility has the resources to be able to buy them.
So there are some access concerns there.
Absolutely. We need to make sure that everyone who needs these treatments can get them regardless of their location or their financial situation. And then another challenge is training and expertise. These systems are very complex to use, so we need to make sure that we have clinicians and technicians that are really highly trained and can use them safely and effectively.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about having the infrastructure and the support in place to make sure that we're using it the right way. We also need to continue doing research and evaluating these technologies and make sure that they're living up to their promise.
Absolutely.
And delivering the best possible outcomes for patients. It's definitely a complex landscape, but it seems like these advancements in radiotherapy have the potential to totally revolutionize how we treat cancer.
I think so too. It's a really exciting time to be in the field.
I'm feeling really inspired after this conversation. It's amazing to see how we're using technology to make cancer care better.
Me too. And I think we're really just scratching the surface of what's possible.
I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Thank you so much for joining us for this Medvarsity Deep Dive.
It was a pleasure being here.
And we'll see you next time.